everyone, and welcome to another edition of ASCII Anything presented by Moser Consulting. I'm your host, Angel Leon, Moser's HR advisor. In today's episode, we'll be talking about IT automation. What is that, you ask? That and much more will be answered in today's episode by our resident expert, Estelle Lissouck. Estelle is a senior consultant and Linux system engineer at Moser Consulting, focusing on the Red Hat Ansible automation platform. Estelle is originally from Cameroon in Central Africa. She has been working as an IT professional for over 9 years, and she enjoys using her skills to contribute to the exciting technological advances in her community. Estelle is a Linux system engineer, having expertise in Red Hat, CentOS, and Solaris. She also has expertise in virtualization techniques using AWS and VMware, and Red Hat tools. Estelle loves teaching, and she volunteers at a nonprofit organization where free IT training and equipment are provided to less privileged individuals and minorities, mostly in developing countries in Africa. Estelle, I am excited to get to know more about IT automation. Thank you for being with us today. How are you?
I'm good, and thank you for having me.
Outstanding. No, we're very excited. So let's start with the definition of IT automation, because I know that when I think of this, I don't know, for some reason, I think about a warehouse full of robots sort of controlling the flow, but that's not it. So tell me, what is IT automation?
Great. Automation, let's start with automation in the big picture. Automation itself is the use of technology to perform tasks with reduced human assistance, right? Now, coming to IT automation is just the use of software to create repeatable instructions and processes to either replace or reduce human interaction with IT systems. Now, in our present time and era, IT automation is really the way to go because, with the rise of virtualized network and cloud systems, that really requires rapid and complex provisioning. Automation has become an indispensable strategy that can help IT professionals to deliver services with improved speed to meet up with the demands. And it just not improves the speed, but it also provides consistency in your processes, accuracy, and even security. When I mean automation is the way to go, I really mean it because it's an important tool that can scale a business in today's world. It can significantly reduce your cost, it reduces error, and it reduces the time to deliver your production-ready resources. And all these really makes automation to become the go-to for your business needs in today's world.
So basically everything that you described, it's very modern. It provides a dynamic IT environment for your organization. So basically, automation can integrate with and apply to anything from network automation to your infrastructure to cloud, like you mentioned. But it also extends to other technologies such as containers, methodologies like DevOps, and into broader areas such as cloud security.
Yes, definitely. It really can integrate to anything, and you said it really well. It does not only limit to what you said, the list is really exhaustive. It can go as far as security automation, such as monitoring and response, incident management, because using automation to respond to major incidents help the enterprise restore services faster and with fewer errors. So IT automation really applies to anything, and the list is exhaustive, just as you said. Yes.
Wow, outstanding. You're right. It can extend. The list could be exhaustive, but the items that you just listed themselves are just very exciting because as an organization, if I'm looking to automate some of my IT infrastructure, I would start with all of those things that we mentioned. But so if my IT operations are working fine and there's really nothing wrong with my current setup, why would I consider making a change to automation?
Okay, the more reason to automate, right? The fact that your operations are working just fine is the very reason to do automation because you can't automate anything that's not working. All right, so a couple of reasons why you really need to consider automation. First, automation will increase the effectiveness of your organization and increase productivity level, right? And that we cannot beat about it. We cannot change anything about it. Automation will really increase the effectiveness of your organization and increase your productivity levels. Second thing, it will optimize your performance. With automation, your employees can now spend less time on tasks that once required hours to complete. And this is important, not just because the automation can do this sometimes menial tasks in a fraction of time, but it also just shrinks the chances of human errors. Employees who complete repetitive tasks often get bored. I do. When I start doing very repetitive tasks, I get bored. And when employees get bored, they're more prone to make mistakes, right?
Yes.
And an IT administrator is liable to make an error, like while typing in the command line interface, choosing the wrong configuration setting for a server, overlooking a key step in a complex task, or just make other mistakes. These errors also lead admins to take additional time just to troubleshoot and repeat the process, just to make it right. So that is one thing. Another thing why you really need to consider a change and go towards the automation is that automation will definitely reduce your cost. If automation reduces the amount of time spent on repetitive tasks, it can also reduce costs in the sense that it will eliminate the need for large teams to perform a lot of manual tasks, and therefore it can help save on staffing costs. For organizations that have large teams and very complex infrastructures, the savings could be extensive and even improve quality substantially. Another reason I can think of, and I would say, is IT automation will allow for more efficiency in your process, really. For example, you could set a condition to provision a server, let's say, only after a certain tests are done, right? So each task within that workflow can have separate dependencies to ensure that they are executed only when certain conditions are done. So IT automation really improves your efficiency in the workflow of your process, making it very consistent.
Yeah, so you, just to summarize everything that you mentioned, which, I mean, there are a lot of good reasons there to go to IT automation. So in a nutshell, you get better efficiency in your process, you get less errors, you utilize your IT professionals better,
yes,
you lower your cost as an organization, and something that I think, I don't know, it depends on who you ask, but something that I believe actually makes more sense and probably means more to others, is better support for your clients and improved satisfaction across the board for them. Wouldn't you agree?
I absolutely agree, perfectly. And I wanted to add that too, as IT professional, our end goal is to make our client or customers happy, right? So automation provides that better support, just as you said, for our clients and improves satisfaction. It not only streamlines the process of releasing new software, but it also significantly reduces the amount of time to fix bugs and other issues that may affect the customer user's experience. And also in the development standpoint, it will also rapidly provision new environments. For example, let's say you are a developer and you need a new web server. Normally, you would have to send a request, and 3 days later, you'll finally get a new VM server. Who has time for that nowadays? It's time to automate and get your server up in minutes, not days. Right. And not only would you get it in minutes, it will decrease or eliminate the variability in new infrastructures. Now, imagine you finally have the servers we're talking about and the tools you need, but you realize it's not configured the way you want it to. IT automation comes now to eliminate those errors in the variabilities. Servers are configured the same way every single time. And even better, if someone does change anything or something, automation will put it back where it belongs. So automation really reduces the time to deliver your production-ready resources and makes automation become the go-to for your business. And that increases satisfaction to our clients and customers. So that was really a great point.
Yeah, that I think you actually summed it up probably way better than I could with all of your examples right there, to be honest, because I really like your example about if you get a setup and it's not configured the way you want it, how IT automation can actually just come in and, redo that very quickly for you instead of waiting 2 to 3 days to get that done. So
right.
That's really interesting.
Right.
So I'm sure a lot of people out there listening to this are probably thinking that this is something for large companies with huge IT staff, but that's not completely true, right? Why would a small or medium-sized company need to worry about IT automation?
That's a really great question, and it's really important to mention because it's a glass ceiling that we need to break, right? The truth is, small companies may think big organizations have more resources available to research automation options and even a large budget to try new tools and technologies without it affecting their bottom line in any major ways. But because small organizations tend to also have a limited budget and therefore smaller teams, right? So they're often pushed to do more with less for the good of the company, of course. And at the same time, they are also faced with the reality of having a small workforce to address a demanding work volume. I don't know if you understand me. So the expectation, this expectation where you put a lot of work on a little team, it generally backfires, as placing a large burden on a small team can negatively affect the morale, which in turn affect the quality of work and therefore affects the productivity. And that is really where automation works best. The automation system is really flexible to meet the needs of any industry and any size. What I would say is that automation doesn't really have to be expensive, right? It just has to be strategic. How do you do this? Take a look at your processes to determine which will benefit most from automation and really just begin there. Then find the right tools for each process with an eye-opening towards how to integrate them with each other. So my question to you is, why continue wasting time, your business time and money on processes that can easily be automated and save your company money in the long run?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. I don't think that organizations, I mean, the size of the organization, I think that's a myth, right? Because
right.
when you're talking about IT equipment, IT, networking, et cetera, you're still dealing with the same issues across the board, whether you have an IT staff of 5 or an IT staff of 100. So with automation, as you said, the flexibility is there for you to meet your needs. So what's stopping you?
I definitely agree with you. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you real quick, because as an organization, Moser does provide this type of service, one called Ansible Quick Start Program, in which I understand we can get a system up and running in as little as 3 weeks. Could you elaborate a little bit on this?
Yes, great. This is a really great program for any business size, big or small, just like we mentioned. And Ansible Quick Start is a program where you get one Ansible architect, 2 senior business consultants, and a project manager. And what we do is that we come to your organization and we get an Ansible use case and up and going for your organization just in 3 weeks. So we set everything up in 3 weeks and you're ready to go.
Very interesting, very interesting. So let me continue on the line of thinking about small to medium-sized companies. So seeing how you could incorporate IT automation to these types of companies, small and medium-sized, what does it mean for their bottom lines? If they were to make an investment into IT automation, does it pay off financially and otherwise prove to be beneficial to the organization?
Of course. The first question that comes up when considering IT automation is it worth it? right?
Yes.
So, and perhaps as an investor, as an infrastructure, you're worried you won't see enough return on your investment, or that your employees who are used to manual process will not just adjust to the new technologies quick enough. So what I want to say to you is rest assured that that's not the case, because by automating workflows and eliminating human errors, your business is sure to see a high return on your investment in no time, and allowing your employees to be used better to focus on more important and even less tedious tasks. I don't also neglect the fact that introducing the automation solution can seem costly for the business at first. But the truth is that automation tools actually drive down cost. It increases the workflow efficiency and saves resources spent on manual tasks. So automating IT tasks would immediately increase the productivity of your IT staff. It will speed up delivery and improve SLAs. Now, instead of spending time configuring computers, for example, freeing up server disk space, resetting password for Active Directory users, or restoring service, your IT personnel are happy. And that's a really great return on your investment, right? It might not be quantitative, but it's qualitative. It makes your IT personnel happy because they are removed from manual tasks, and they can now be free to focus on more important and high value work. And I also want to note here that savings for IT process automation is incremental. So while you automate a 20-minute task, for example, it may seem insignificant for your prospective changes. When you realize that this task is performed 10 times a day, and there are hundreds of those tasks on a weekly basis, then you realize how much savings you're making, right? Mm-hmm. So rather than seeing automation as a short-term fix with potentially stalled initiatives, calculating the true return on your investment means stepping back to see how it can help your organization achieve its long-term big picture goals. I don't know if I made myself clear a little bit.
Oh, you did. I think you did. You brought up something very interesting in that you talk about return of investment, and when people hear that, they might think dollar signs, right? But you mentioned a couple of things: happiness of their employees, and the example you brought up about doing a task 10 times a day, 100 times a week, that can get boring, as you said. That can get frustrating, maybe for your IT professional. And the fact that you're taking that away from them and making them do different non-menial tasks, that's probably going to make your IT worker a lot happier. I can probably guess.
Definitely. Yeah.
So incidentally, your return on investment, like you said, might not be dollar sign or quantifiable. It is qualifiable now, because now you have a happier employee who's doing things different, who's probably thinking, hey, maybe I can do this better on this other thing, or maybe I can develop a little bit further on this other thing, because they don't have to worry about doing that same task over and over again on a daily basis.
Right. And a happy employee, it's a productive employee.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a very good return of investment right there.
Right.
So Estelle, finally, in a forever changing world, what is the future of IT automation? Where do we go from here?
Yes. The age of automation has unquestionably arrived, and the future of automation looks promising, where everything will be made accessible and increased autonomy built into it. The new development in artificial intelligence and machine learning are now driving the IT automation trend and even influencing change management strategies across a wide range of industries. And it's really worth examining how they're likely to develop in the years to come. Now, think about automation built from a bare metal to middleware apps, to middleware, to application, to security, updating, to notification, failover, and decisions being made with no direct oversight. Now, I'm going to take an example. Consider a security risk being automatically detected, reported, patched, tested, and deployed while your IT staff is sleeping. Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, it is.
This is automation, yes. So your system can heal itself. It can gather relevant information to discover if and where an attack came from and notify the correct people without losing any uptime. So that is automation. So yes, IT is the future. IT automation is the future.
I could think of a couple of friends who would definitely love to have the IT automation on their security side. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. Every IT professional will like that.
Yes, and yes, I think everybody would agree. I mean, that type, using your example about security, I mean, that's something that, you wish that would be something that we could incorporate beyond just IT automation onto other things. But just to get that start there, that's very promising.
Right, and not having to wake up in the middle of the night because of a call that you need to get on the computer and try to fix stuff. Yeah, that is a great thing.
Absolutely.
To consider.
Absolutely. Estelle, it was a pleasure having a chat with you today. Thank you very much for being with us.
And thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
All right. Thank you for your time again. And I'm looking forward to what's next in this fascinating field.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening in to this week's edition of ASCII Anything presented by Moser Consulting. We hope you enjoyed this conversation about IT automation and how this could provide you with the IT help you never thought you'd need. We'd love if you join us next week when we continue to dive deeper with our resident experts and what they're currently working on. In the meantime, please remember to give us a rating and subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts. Until then, so long, everybody.